Hello, today is 25th March 2025, and we are continuing our discussions in the Naavi Academy series on DGPSI on DGPSI Principles. In the previous video, we discussed the process as an important aspect of compliance management under DGPSI. Today we will look at the second principle, which says classification is the key. The idea is that DPDPA compliance revolves around various measures to be taken on a set of data, depending upon the data, whether it is non-personal data or personal data, whether it is personal data generated in India or outside India, whether it is sensitive personal data or not so sensitive, and so on. So therefore, the identification of the class of data to which we are trying to apply the compliance process is an important aspect of compliance. Now, in this aspect, normally the auditors, particularly in the ISMS group, have a system of classification which they adopt from the security perspective, basically on whether the data is public or it is internal to an organization, and even within the organization, it is available only to a certain class of roles and considered confidential, and so on. So this classification of data being confidential or public, that kind of classification is suitable for the ISMS compliance management. Even if you look at compliance for, say, GDPR kind of data protection laws, the classifications will have to be based on the GDPR requirements, like whether the data is sensitive or not sensitive, whether it is racial data, and so on. And even when we were handling the Information Technology Act, ITA 2000 compliance, we had to make a distinction of data itself as sensitive data and not sensitive data, because there was a definition of sensitive data in the ITA 2000. DPDPA does not have a definition of sensitive data. Therefore, when we do the classification of DPDPA, classification of the data as sensitive or non-sensitive doesn't make sense. Actually, we need to look at classification as a step towards building controls. And therefore, we need to adopt a classification system which will help us identify the compliance obligations under different sections of DPDPA. Like, if the data is that of a minor, a separate control is required. If the data is that of an employee, separate control is required. And if the data relates to, let us say, health, it may be different, and so on. So DGPSI adopts an elaborate classification system wherein data is classified first into non-personal data and personal data. And within personal data, it is classified as personal data generated from within India and others. And therefore, in this layer of filtration, we will be having the non-personal data separated, then personal data which does not come under the data protection law of India, that is the DPDPA, is also filtered out. And what remains is the personal data to which data DPDPA is applicable. This is called DPDPA protected data, or DPD. Now, after this, the DPD itself needs to be further subclassified based on different sections of the Act. And if you are able to classify the data with reference to the different sections of the act, then you will be having different sets of personal data, and you can adopt a specific set of controls to that particular data. So you can give in the data inventory, you can give a tag of classification, and then for that classification, a certain set of measures or controls can be defined. So that's why we consider that classification is an important aspect of DPDPA compliance, and DGPSI provides about 31 different classifications. And as far as the sensitivity is concerned, though data is not normally classified as sensitive and others, we prefer to provide a sensitivity index to a data set, which actually goes with a different, with a specific process. And to that extent, it is a parameter which has to be recognized, but when it is related to a specific context. So these are some of the measures which will help us in building what we can call as compliance by design. So let us look at other key principles in a subsequent video. Thank you.